What's up, everybody? We're back again, episode 3. This week's beer, Sam Adams American Light. We're gonna try this out. Of course, gotta drink light beer, being diabetic, so we're gonna see how this tastes. But yeah, so Monday night again. It's about 10:15, 10:10 actually. Monday night football game just ended. Rams and the Dolphins. To me, it was kind of a boring game. Uh, Rams might have just lost their shot at the playoffs. Can't believe they couldn't get one touchdown. A little upset about that, being that I had Matt Stafford as my quarterback this week. But you know what is what it is. Tyreek Hill finally got in the end zone, so that helped me out. But good to see Tua playing normal. Hopefully he's done with those concussions. But you know, you just never know. As far as the game itself goes, I mean the Rams look kind of sloppy. They looked good the last couple weeks, but this week, I don't know, just wasn't there for them. Miami doesn't really have that great of a defense, so I'm not sure what happened in that situation. But hey, Miami got a win. I think they're 3-7, 3-6 now. Still don't think they're making the playoffs this year. I would say make a big run, but remember Buffalo's in that division, so we'll have to see how that goes. And then again, the Rams been hurt all season, so finally get everybody healthy back, and then they take this loss. So yeah, they may be done for the year as far as playoffs go. But then again, that NFC West is one of those divisions where you just never know. Atlanta and San Francisco being the front runners, but everybody's kind of, I think, within 1 or 2 games of each other. So they still got a shot. It's actually pretty good. I like it. Like Sam Adams. I used to like drink the regular Sam Adams, but yeah, this American Light's pretty good. Anyway, so yeah, that takes care of the Monday night game. Like I said, it was kind of uneventful. It wasn't a very not much to come out of that game. Um, kind of, I thought it was kind of boring, but that's just me. We start with Thursday night though. Thursday night, Cincinnati and Baltimore, crazy game again. I know it's the second game they've had this year, and both games have come down to the wire. Cincinnati should have had a chance to win that game. I know. I honestly think they should have had a second chance after that. There was a couple penalties on the 2-point conversion, but I guess you should never let it get that close, right? Should win the game outright instead of having to worry about a 2-point conversion. But you could tell that decision to go for 2 was more of the fact that Cincinnati knew they couldn't stop Baltimore, couldn't stop Lamar Jackson. Derrick Henry wasn't a big impact. It was just Lamar Jackson in general. Cincinnati couldn't stop him. Cincinnati doesn't have any defense, which is unfortunately, I think, going to be their downfall this year. So I don't see how Cincinnati gets into the playoffs unless they go on a wild run where they win out the rest of the season. Even then, it's going to be tough for them to get in. That AFC North is at the top right now. You got Baltimore and Pittsburgh, and it's definitely going to be one of those two in the division, which I'm hoping is going to be Pittsburgh. But either way, Pittsburgh 7-2, Baltimore 7-3. They got a big matchup next week. Those games are always nasty. I love watching those, not just as a Steelers fan, just as a football fan, because they just hate each other. And then it's always hard hitting. So definitely looking forward to that one. Baltimore just kind of outscored Cincinnati, really. Baltimore's defense kind of sucks too. They're used to having a strong defense, and they didn't have a defense this year. It just kind of stinks. So yeah, it's unfortunate that the Bengals don't have a defense either, because Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase just went off. I'm glad I didn't play him in my fantasy league this week, because I think he put up like 56 points, which is insane. So it sucks that they wasted that 200 yard game on a loss. But that's the NFL for you. What can you do? Moving to Sunday, I think, let's see what early game was. Giants and the Panthers. Who cares, right? Other than the fact that Daniel Jones needs to be benched, they need to just move on from him. They put all that money into Daniel Jones when They should have paid Saquon Barkley. I think I've said this before. But anyway, that was a pretty terrible game. Both sides. Panthers win. Bryce Young looks a little bit better, but he's stuck on that team, and I don't know if he's ever going to get any better. So, Chiefs and the Broncos. I really thought the Chiefs were going to lose it this week. I've been telling people all week that this was the week they were going to lose it. Lose their first game. They've been playing with fire all week. So all season they've been playing with fire and finding a way to pull out wins. And again, found a way to pull out a win against Denver. Bo Nix looked pretty good as a rookie, going head to head with Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes still looks very, very not like himself. So I don't know what's going on with that. The Chiefs are really relying on their defense this year. Their offense puts up points, but doesn't put up points like it has in the past. But you find a way to win. And listening to Andy Reid after the game, it's like they knew they were going to block that kick, which was good coaching on Andy Reid's part to see where the weakness is in that special teams. I think they had gotten close to blocking kicks earlier in the game, and they were pretty confident they were going to block that kick. I know a lot of people were joking around how Chiefs winning again had to do with Taylor Swift and her black magic, which is kind of funny. I love hearing that. It's hilarious. Just because I can't really stand Taylor Swift, but all the jokes they make about it is funny. Even last week when Patrick Mahomes, everybody thought he blew out his whole leg completely, Achilles, thigh, whatever. And within like 5 minutes he was healed. And everybody, again, Taylor Swift and her black magic. So it's hilarious to hear stuff like that. But yeah, they got Buffalo next week, Kansas City. So that'll be a tough one. It's in Buffalo. So I think, I think, but I said I think again this week, and they ended up winning. But Buffalo's got a legit shot to beat Kansas City. Josh Allen always plays Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs tough. So hoping it'll be a good game at least, and hopefully they'll pull off a win. The Chiefs need that loss to kind of bring them back down to earth, because I know they're feeling themselves a little bit too much right now, just all the wins they're having. But anyway, other big game at noon was the Steelers and Commanders. If you didn't watch that game, it was a back and forth game. Being a Steelers fan, trying to be unbiased, but basically that trade for Mike Williams paid off. Had the game-winning touchdown at the end. Jump ball from Russell Wilson with the moon ball. Had one to George Pickens, same thing, moon ball. Defense came through when they needed to. Stopping Zach Ertz with inches left to go on fourth down. And then, of course, getting the rookie to jump on fourth down. I honestly thought that even if he didn't jump, I think Mike Tomlin was gonna run that ball. I don't think he wanted to give the Commanders another chance. So I think he was, regardless, I think he was gonna snap that ball. I know he came out in his conference today and he said, "You'll never know. I may have snapped them, may have not." And you gotta love Mike Tomlin when he does stuff like that. He's not gonna play his cards. Yeah, I mean, I'll be one of the first ones to say I questioned Tomlin's decision when he played Russ over Justin Fields, but he's kind of proved everybody wrong the last 3 games. I'm not ready to say let Russ cook yet, because I'm going to say that, and then he's going to throw a dud next week against the Ravens. But he's definitely playing better than what he looked like in Denver, so hopefully he's able to put a couple more games together. They can beat Baltimore. We've got pretty much all division games left. 2 against Baltimore, 2 against Cincinnati, 2 against Cleveland, and then you got the Kansas City in there somewhere, and I think the Eagles. So definitely a tough schedule left for the Steelers. Sitting at 7-2 at the top of that division. But they're looking good with the defense, the running game. Take it game by game. Game by game is all you can do. As long as TJ Watt stays healthy, game record, then I think they'll be okay on defense. Let's see, Vikings and Jaguars was kind of a stinker too. Jaguars didn't have Trevor Lawrence, had to play Mac Jones. I think the Vikings only put up 12 points, so the Vikings look like they're losing a little bit of momentum after that 5-0 start. Aaron Jones went down, but I think he's only says day-to-day, so he should be all right. But yeah, that was pretty much kind of a boring game too. Nothing much came out of that one. Saints and the Falcons. Shout out to the Saints for getting their interim coach first victory. Is it Rizzi or Rizzoli, whatever his name is? Guy's got the Riz, like the kids say. Guy had his Riz going. If you saw his press conference, go Google it. See how he started his day. Pretty crappy day, pun intended. It's funny. Yeah, the Falcons had a chance to win that game, and the Saints just came back and just held them. Yeah, the Saints got that win, and Saints look like they're going to be in trouble the rest of the season. I don't think Chris Olave is going to play the rest of the season after that second concussion in like 3 weeks. It was a nasty concussion. Don't think he's going to play. They're without Rashid Shaheed. They don't have really any wide receivers. Derek Carr, I've said it before, Derek Carr is pretty much a crappy quarterback. Very highly overrated. Even Alvin Kamara dropped a couple passes, so I think he's kind of feeling like the season's over for them too. And see where they go next season. But yeah, that one was kind of a little bit of a dud too. I mean, it had some bright spots, but I know Bijan Robinson went off. Luckily, I didn't play against him this week. Kirk Cousins looked like he stunk it up again, like he always does. I shouldn't say always does. He's had those 2 5-touchdown games this year, but hasn't been very consistent this year. So yeah, we'll see where the Falcons go from there. Still in contention for that NFC South. 49ers and the Bucks was actually, despite what the score said, was actually a pretty competitive game. McCaffrey making his return. Definitely had an impact as far as what they can run on offense. I know he didn't have like a huge game. He had a little bit over 100 yards, total yards, so that's rushing and passing, or rushing and receiving, which is good for his return. I think the best part for me is watching Deebo Samuel go at it with his kicker Moody and a snapper on the sideline after he missed 3 field goals. Like, how do you blame the snapper and the kicker? You know, it's like you're on the same team. You'll get over it. I know they ended up, according to Deebo Samuel, apparently they were good at the end. So, but that was kind of funny watching that. And then there was a moment in this game I got to give Baker Mayfield his props. Stiff arming Nick Bosa after Nick Bosa's trying to sack him. Stiff armed him for a good 5 yards, keeping him from sacking him and through a completion. If you haven't seen that highlight, I would recommend you go and Google that. Baker Mayfield, like, you can hold off Nick Bosa for that long. As a quarterback, straight stiff arm, just like arm extended, and throw the ball with the right hand. Yeah, I give him props for that. But again, the Bucks being shorthanded at receiver put up a good game with the 49ers. I know everybody still thinks 49ers will win the NFC West, but still a little too early. McCaffrey's back, but Arizona doesn't look that bad either. I know their schedule haven't been the best. They just played the Jets, those goddamn Jets. I think it's time to say officially Aaron Rodgers sucks. He's done. He's over the hill. Plays like crap every week and tries to find a different person to blame it on. So yeah, I think it's time for him to hang it up. I think it's time for the Jets to blow that up. And I think that Aaron Rodgers trade is officially the worst trade in NFL history. I know that initially people were saying the Russell Wilson to Denver was up there. But yeah, this Aaron Rodgers one, especially after he got the coach fired, he got them to trade for Devontae Adams, everything he wanted, and they still can't win. That defense for the Jets just stinks. They made Kyler Murray look like, granted, yes, he's won the Heisman, but they made him look like a Hall of Fame quarterback. A little Mighty Mouse over there, running the ball on his own. I think 2 touchdowns on his own. Threw one to Marvin Harrison. They got James Conner coming out of the backfield, former Steeler, like I said before. So, I mean, the Cardinals got a nice little team over there. That tight end, McBride, looks pretty good. So I wouldn't necessarily hand that division to San Francisco yet. As the Cardinals, I think, still have a legit shot to take that division. Bills and Colts, I think that was all Bills pretty much. the Joe Flacco experiment is really not working for the Colts, even though I said before they should bench Richardson for Flacco. I still think they should because Richardson wasn't playing any better. I think the Colts just aren't a very good team. And they've got a rough schedule playing Buffalo, who's just Buffalo's a legit team. Flacco definitely looked his age though, 39 years old out there, throwing I think 2 interceptions. I think one of them was pretty blatant, but yeah, it was a pretty ugly game for the Colts. I know Jonathan Taylor I think went off though for 100 yards. I don't think he got in the end zone, but he had a decent game. Of course, Josh Allen for Buffalo always brings it. So definitely setting up for that Kansas City Buffalo game next week. Hoping Buffalo and Josh Allen get that win. Definitely will help them secure that AFC East. And somebody needs to knock Kansas City off that pedestal. They're looking a little too. They feeling themselves a little too much, like I said before. Granted they're undefeated, but yeah, they need to get beat. They've been playing with fire all season, and have yet to get burned by it. But if you're a Chiefs fan, you hope it comes sooner rather than later, so they can get all those issues worked out before the playoffs, and hopefully go for that three-peat. Patriots and Bears. What can you say about that one other than the Bears suck? I felt bad for Caleb Williams. That game was out of reach, and they left him in that game, and he was just getting beat up. I think he got sacked 9 times. Barely threw for 100 yards. That Bears team just sucks coaching-wise. They got the talent. Caleb Williams being the number 1 pick. Keenan Allen, DeAndre Swift. Got Rome Odunze that they drafted too. So they've got Cole Kmet. They've got some talent. They can't coach that team. I think that coach needs to be fired. Offensive coordinator needs to go. They just need to rebuild that team, coaching wise, all the way starting from the top. I mean, they've got the talent there. I just hope that Caleb Williams doesn't get hurt playing behind that offensive line because he's getting beat up every week. And of course, Patriots are Patriots. Drake May is looking better every week. But it's hard to judge really how much better they're getting when you're playing the Bears. So we'll see how that unfolds. Chargers and Titans. Chargers are quietly a pretty good team, and I say quietly because nobody's talking about them. I think they're 6-3, I believe. Definitely up there in the AFC, right behind Kansas City in that division. Jim Harbaugh got Justin Herbert playing well. We all know how the Harbaughs like to build around those quarterbacks. I mean, look what he did at Michigan, and look what John Harbaugh does in Baltimore with Lamar. So yeah, they are a surprisingly flying under the radar team. They think they got Gus Edwards back this week, so they got their second part of that running back duo with Dobbins back. Of course, Herbert will be slinging it every week as long as he stays healthy. Defense actually looks pretty good, better than they've had in the past. Their defense has always been trash in the past, but they look pretty good as far as defense goes. Not definitely one of the best ones, but they don't suck on defense either. So Chargers are a team that's kind of under the radar, which I'm sure Harbaugh is fine with. The less attention to the team, the better. That way the expectation's not set so high. We had Dallas and Philadelphia. I apologize up front, Cowboy fans. Y'all going through it this season. Now I think you find out you're going to lose Dak Prescott for the season, having his surgery for that hamstring. But yeah, Philadelphia just laid it on them. I don't think that was a surprise to anybody, being that they knew Cooper Rush was gonna start, and Philadelphia was healthy. And I know Saquon Barkley was wanting to get a win against Dallas. I think they were saying it was the first win he would have ever had against the Dallas Cowboys. I think that's hard to believe, but I heard someone say that. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to say how good Philadelphia looked because they're playing Dallas. Everybody looks good against Dallas nowadays. I think the funniest thing to come out of that Cowboys game is, of course, on the Dallas side. You play Trey Lance for 2 plays and you pull him out. What for? what were the 2 plays worth? And then you put him back later in the game, and the game's already had a reach. And my thought is they don't believe in Trey Lance, but I don't know why you gave up what you gave up to get him. But at this point, you got Cooper Rush back there, who I know he was, I think, 4-1, 5-1 as a starter, but give Trey Lance a shot. Your season's pretty much done. Yeah, do what you got to do. I was laughing at the comment CeeDee Lamb made about the sun asking for curtains in Jerry World, and Jerry Jones was like, yeah, no, basically shut up. You're not going to put curtains. They know where the sun is. You're not going to do it. And then, of course, Micah Parsons and his comments about Mike McCarthy. Yeah, I know that drew some attention today. People basically telling Micah Parsons to keep his mouth shut. I mean, I get what he was trying to say. I think it was just the way he said it. Basically saying how he'd rather win a championship for some of the veteran players more than he would for McCarthy, because those players put in more work than McCarthy ever has. And so I get what he was trying to say, but I think it was the way he worded it. But at the same time, when you're losing, you kind of just got to keep your mouth shut. But we know that's all. Unfortunately, that's the Cowboys don't keep their mouth shut whether they're winning or losing. So it's just a little bit more pertinent this year because they're losing, and they're losing bad. They're looking worse and worse every week. So, Cowboy fans, sorry, you're going through it. It's only gonna get worse. Y'all might win on Thanksgiving against the Giants. Next week y'all got the Texans. I don't see how that's gonna work. On Monday night, Texans are gonna pretty much prove that they're the best team in Texas right now. Speaking of the Texans and the Lions put up. It was a good game last night. Came down to the wire. I still can't believe that between those two quarterbacks, they threw 7 interceptions, and how Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions, and the Lions still win that game. Lions basically pitched a shutout in the second half. Houston didn't score at all in the second half. Definitely missing Nico Collins. I thought Nico Collins was going to try to give it a go last night, but they activated him, benched him for one more game. Yeah, they were definitely missing him because Joe Mixon couldn't get going. The Lions shut him down. Stroud definitely missing his number 1 receiver with some of those red zone trips that ended up in field goals. And the Lions, man, and they're just what's their grit? Yeah, they showed the grit last night. You 5 interceptions from Jared Goff, and you find a way to win. Those 2 running backs, Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, they call him Sonic and Knuckles, just kept the team in the game. The defense came through in the second half. The kicker, back-to-back kicks, barely squeaking it in. But it's a good story. I mean, the kicker from what they were saying last night was from Houston. Tried out for the UFL. I think he won the UFL title with a kick like that, signed with Detroit, and came back to his hometown and ended up winning the game there. So yeah, good story for him. So definitely a good game last night. Probably one of the better games of the week. I think the best one that I saw was definitely that Steelers Commanders game, just because it was so competitive. It could have gone either way, coming down to the last minute of the game. Definitely proved that both the Commanders and the Steelers are legit 7-2, 7-3 teams. They're not just based on their schedules. So both teams that I think Commanders are definitely winning that division. I know they play the Eagles on Thursday, so that'll be a big game too. But I think Commanders are going to win that division. Steelers haven't had a division game yet, but we'll see how they do against the Ravens. Last couple of years they've owned the Ravens, so pretty confident they'll win one, if not both of them, against the Ravens. And Steelers flying a little bit under the radar too. You hear people talking about who's coming out of the AFC, and of course everybody's Kansas City, Baltimore, Buffalo. Everybody talks about who's going to give the Chiefs offensive line, or, hell, because their offensive line can't really block. And then they talk about, Baltimore and Buffalo might, but nobody. I mean, did they forget that Pittsburgh has T.J. Watt? They just picked up Preston Smith, Highsmith. I mean, that's a defensive line that's gonna come for Patrick Mahomes on Christmas Day. That left tackle is a suspect, so that's definitely shaping up to be a good game. Again, trying to be unbiased, but I did my little biased Steelers plug there, so sorry about that. But yeah, so good week, another good week of NFL action. Of course, you got your stinker teams, and you got your teams at the top. Then you've got your mediocre teams. College football. Yes, let's talk some college football. Some upsets this week. Some major upsets this week that are going to possibly have some playoff implications. Start with Miami. Miami drops to Georgia Tech. I think they dropped from number 4 all the way to number 12 with one loss. Not sure I agree with that huge of a drop. But I know they were 4 in the rankings, 3 in the playoffs. So they would have had a first round bye. Now, kind of curious where they're going to fall playoff wise, since they fell all the way down to 12 in the polls. But again, that was one loss. But I think they are actually second in the ACC. If I remember right, SMU's the undefeated one in the ACC. So that could be that'll be a good championship game if it comes down to SMU and Miami. SMU again, they're flying under the radar too, so they found a way to creep up in there and see if Miami can rebound next week. I mean, they've been playing with fire all year too. I think they've fallen behind in every one of their games, and Cam Ward, Heisman candidate, has been bailing them out week after week. So we'll definitely have to see how that goes with Miami. Georgia dropping to Ole Miss. Georgia's second loss of the year. Going to be interesting to see if Georgia runs the table, if they'll still make the college playoff. They were saying, I know the talk has been 2 lost teams may not make it in, but let's be honest, that SEC is going to have a lot of 2 lost teams by the end when it's all said and done. You look at Alabama, they just beat LSU, 2 lost team, but they look like they're back to their old Alabama ways. Texas is 1 lost team, is the highest ranked in the SEC, but they've got a pretty tough schedule remaining. All SEC, so SEC games are never really easy games. You got this week they got Arkansas, so Arkansas always plays Texas pretty tough. Kentucky, and then they got that end of the year one against A&M, which is always a rivalry game. So Texas loses any one of those, they're another 2 lost team. A&M's already a 2 lost team. Alabama, Georgia, 2 losses right there. Tennessee's got Georgia this week, so that's going to be another big playoff implications. Georgia loses another one, 3 losses, and they probably are out. Georgia wins, Tennessee's another 2 lost team. So that SEC is getting crowded with 2 lost teams, so it's going to be interesting to see how many teams come out of the SEC and who gets left out. Because I don't think there's going to be any other conference that's going to have multiple people coming out of it. Maybe the Big Ten, Ohio State, and probably Penn State, and then of course Indiana. So maybe the Big Ten, but outside of that, yeah, the ACC is only going to get 1. The Big 12 is probably only going to get 1, which Big 12 actually is going to be kind of interesting because we may get Colorado versus BYU in that Big 12 championship. I don't think many people called that at the beginning of the year. Colorado got a big win over Texas Tech this past weekend. Texas Tech rocking those, this is my own personal opinion, those ugly-ass Patrick Mahomes designed jerseys. You can barely see the numbers. I think he could have done a better job, but I digress on that. But I actually wanted Tech to win. My daughter graduated from there, so I'm like, my money went to Texas Tech. So I was hoping Texas Tech would win. And they first half they looked like they were going to. It's like I think they just ran out of gas. Colorado weathered the storm, got that win. So Colorado controls their own destiny basically. They went out, including the Big 12 championship, and they're probably in the playoff. BYU got a scare with Utah. I thought BYU was going to lose that game. Another rivalry game, so it's one of those where both teams are gonna just come out and play each other hard. But BYU pulled out that win. So they still got that upper hand in the Big 12. We'll see how that goes with that the next couple weeks and how that championship game is going to line up. Again, going back to the Big Ten, it's Oregon, obviously Ohio State. That'll be the other one. The SEC and the Big Ten are gonna basically run the playoffs, unfortunately, but it's just gonna be who makes it in. 2-loss teams. I wouldn't be surprised if we do get a 3-loss team in there just because of SEC play. I can't see Georgia or Alabama or Tennessee 3 losses and not getting in the playoff just because of the schedule they've had, the quality of wins they've had, and things like that. Even if Texas were to fall 3 losses, I could see them possibly getting in, just because of their quality of wins. It's one of those things where that SEC is such a power conference that they're going to benefit from anytime they lose to somebody in that conference, just because they're all tough games. So yeah, that's definitely going to be something to keep an eye out. We'll see how that rolls with college football. I know next week's going to be another big week with college football, and we'll see how that goes. A little bit of NBA action. I know there's a lot of injuries in the past week, beginning of the year. We saw KD's going to be out for a while. Kevin Durant and Stephen A. Smith had some beef going on, but Kevin Durant, he'll be out for a while. I know Zion Williamson's supposed to be out for a while. A whole bunch of injuries that are just coming up. I think Joel Embiid is still out. There's just all the big names that either haven't played or they're getting hurt early in the season. It'll be interesting to see how those teams are able to stay afloat. I know that Emirates Cup or the in-season tournament, whatever they changed name to, starts this week. So those are always games that, at least last year, they're a little bit more competitive because they were playing for that extra money and, of course, that trophy. So those games are always interesting. The one thing I didn't like about it last year, and I don't know if they're doing it again this year, was the courts. Some of those courts were just bright as hell, and it hurt my eyes watching it. Ugly ass courts sometimes. I think it was Indiana and Chicago, where Chicago's was all red and Indiana's I think was yellow, and there were just some bright ass colors for those courts. So I don't know if they're doing that again this year, but that was the only one thing that I was like, man, tone down the colors a little bit. But it'll be interesting to see who wins the cup this year. I know last year was the Lakers. Lakers kind of started off hot and they look a little crappy now. They finally sent Bronny back to the G League where he should be. He needs to learn, he needs to play, he needs to get his playing time. But outside of that, the Lakers, I think, lost the last 4 or 5 in a row. So started off hot, kind of falling off. Another team that's kind of rocky right now, the Milwaukee Bucks. I think they were 1-6, 1-7. So who knows what's going on in Milwaukee? And then everybody talking about Giannis not being happy. He may request a trade or he may want out. I don't see them trading him. I can see them getting rid of Doc Rivers again. But at this point, who else is out there? But apparently that Giannis and Dame Lillard experiment's not working. Starting 1-7. Surprised with the Cavaliers as of right now. I didn't see I don't know if they played tonight, but only team in the NBA that's still undefeated. I can't say I'm surprised by that. I know the Cavs have a good team, but didn't think they'd be undefeated this far into the season. But I know they got a young team up there, so we'll see how long they can stay undefeated. Spurs pulled off a win today. I think they're now 4-5 or 5-6. I can't remember the exact record. Like I said, I'm not in full NBA mode. It doesn't happen until football season's over. But Spurs are hot and cold. There's some games when they come out flat, get blown out, and then there's games like tonight where they came out and they blew out Sacramento. So I think it's just the Spurs having to basically get their shit together, learn how to play with each other. Devin Vassell came back against Utah, so they got to work him back into the rotation. And honestly, I think it's also coming down to the fact that Popovich isn't coaching. Yes, I know the assistant coach is been there, but it's not Pop. So that could be a thing they need to adjust to is who's coaching the team. Definitely hoping Popovich is healthy and does come back this year, but I just have a feeling the fact that they haven't really said what's wrong with him, he may not return this year. I know there were some rumors out there that maybe he had like a stroke or something, but the fact that nobody has said what's wrong with him kind of makes you wonder how serious of a injury, or I'm sorry, of a health scare was for him. But yeah, I mean, they definitely look better than they did last year. Hoping they can keep some of that momentum from this game into Wednesday. See how they play on Wednesday night, and see if they can put a couple wins together, get over that 500 mark. I still stick with the fact that I think they'll be a playoff team, not a play-in team, a playoff team. I still think they'll hit the 6 or higher. Based on what I've seen them, how they play, they're not playing bad at all. They just need to get it together. So again, I still think they're going to be a playoff team. Let's see what else. A couple big fights this weekend coming up. Of course, the Tyson and Jake Paul fight Friday night on Netflix ought to be interesting. I'm personally hoping Mike Tyson knocks Jake Paul's head off. Can't stand Jake Paul. Can't stand Logan Paul. Either one of them. They're just full of themselves, and yeah, they just can't stand either one of them. But hoping that Tyson will knock his head off. Hoping it's not. I shouldn't say this, but a fixed fight, and Tyson's only one in the paycheck, and he's gonna take the dive for Paul. Hopefully not, because I don't think Tyson would do that. But watching Tyson train, if you haven't seen him train, go check it out. For being in his 50s. That man can still move. I can only hope in my 50s I can move like that, because for a boxer, he's still able to move. He's still able to. It looks like he still punches pretty hard. So if I was Jake Paul, I'd be afraid fighting Tyson. But that's just me. And then I saw that they recently added a stipulation that it's an official fight now, so it's going to go on each one of their official records. Initially they said it wasn't, but now it's officially an official fight, so it'll be an official decision on their records. The other big fight is UFC Saturday night. John Jones, Stipe Miocic for the heavyweight title. Fight everybody's been waiting for a while. Still hoping nothing happens between now and then. John Jones has a way of doing stupid shit and pulling out of fights or getting in trouble to where the fights don't happen. I know there is backup in place. If one of the two backs out, I think Tom Aspinall said he'd step in, so I think that's their backup if I remember already. So there'll be a heavyweight title fight either way, but everybody wants it, Jones and Stipe. Again, just hoping that, I think neither one of them fought in like 2 years, but they're both definitely legends at that weight, and can only hope that they put on a hell of a fight. Everybody's hyped for that fight if you're an MMA UFC fan. So that's definitely going to be something to look out for this weekend, along with all the other, like I said, the college football games, playoff games, playoff eliminators that are coming up this weekend, NFL games that are coming up. Of course, all that's definitely some stuff to look at for this weekend. You know, it's one of the better times for sports. You know, November, kind of got everything going on. So yeah, we're definitely gonna have to see where how this weekend rolls along, um, and then kind of just see what we can talk about next week. Uh, so yeah, I mean, like I said before, I appreciate you guys um, watching these with me. Uh, if you guys got any suggestions or anything, let me know. Um, Again, like my kid said, subscribe, like, share, do what you gotta do. Give me your feedback. Um, you want me to talk about something new? We'll talk about something new. You want me to talk more about something? I will. You don't want me to talk? Tough. I'm gonna talk. It's just me. I'm gonna say what I want to say. Um, but yeah, so definitely see how things go this week. Um, Suggestions for next week's beer. If you don't have any, I'll find one, or I'll just, if I don't finish this by next week, I'll drink some more of this. But if you know me, it'll probably be gone by next week. But yeah, okay. So that's it for this week. Again, I thank all y'all for your support. Go out there and share, and any feedback you have. And kind of like I said last week, guys, take care of each other. Be nice. We all make mistakes. Everybody just love each other, especially after this presidential election. It's been pretty quiet, but let's keep it up. Yeah. So I appreciate all y'all. Thanks.